But what if animals were injured during the making of a film? Would they list that in the credits? Like, Steve accidentally kicked a squirrel. Squirrel was fine, and we rewarded him with a bountiful feast, but we just thought you should know about it. Maybe not the type of what if you had in mind? That's okay. I'm here today to showcase some examples of what if analysis style dashboards and briefly show you the core concept through 3 samples, finishing off with a brief overview on how you could create your own what if style dashboards in Dundas BI. I'm Jeff, and this is Off the Charts with Jeff. One of the samples I'm going to show you in particular is complex, but if you understand the core building blocks of what it takes to go into this, you can see very quickly that it's just more complex examples of a very straightforward principle. So let's get right into it. The first and most basic example is something that we've probably all experienced at some point if you've ever stepped into a bank. You know how every bank wants to sell you those mutual funds with 6% growth over the year with 5% management fees? How could you go wrong? You can see in this dashboard that we can enter a yearly contribution amount and an expected year-over-year growth and risk, and the dashboard will predict where we're going to be in about 20 years. Simple enough, but a valuable tool when it comes to forecasting and budgeting. And this is the core concept behind what-if analysis. It's doing inputs and seeing what's going to happen based on the inputs that you decide. Another example dashboard that I have is in the setting of a company that owns a fleet of vehicles. So if you're interested in knowing the budgetary and environmental impact of changes to their current fleet, as an example, you can see that if we change the fuel mileage, then we're going to see how that's going to impact our metrics. The gauges show the results and have all been given sort of these red, green, and yellow indicators. And all we have to do is make sure that as we adjust variables, we keep these indicators out of these bad ranges. I should probably point out that you really do need to understand your business in order to make these what-if style dashboards. To create something like this, you really need to take the time, model, test, and that will allow you to generate these scenarios based on specific formulas and inputs that you provide. But if you don't know your business well enough, this is sort of a late stage style dashboard where if you've never done any business intelligence at all, you probably want to get into basic performance dashboards first, that sort of thing, so you can first start seeing your data and actually understanding it. But as you progress and as you start seeing more and more, then you can start getting into forecasting and analysis with this what if style, which is very cool. Okay, let's get to our final and more complex example, and my personal favorite. In this scenario, we are a large company with approximately 5,000 employees in different locations. There's a scatter plot here at the bottom that shows all of our hourly salaries, and you can see how long each employee's been here. Now you can see right away that we have a problem. In this hypothetical situation, the minimum wage is going to go up to $10.19 next year, but our company is currently paying a minimum wage of $7 even. We need to solve this. But in doing this, we can also look at the budgets and churn and even productivity that we expect to see as we make these changes. So let's start by first boosting up the minimum wage to be slightly above the federal requirement. Now you can see that in doing this, these black data points have appeared on top of the original data. Now our data is very similar to what we have now, so that's why it's kind of hard to see the difference. It looks like just an overlay. But this is actually showing us where our projected values will be versus where we were. And I can toggle whether or not I want to show this. By adjusting the minimum wage, you can see that we've mashed all of these salaries up. And that's why you're getting a dark line in this chart, because of how we've raised them to this point. This change has, of course, also changed our budget. And as you can see, also changed our employee churn, since we're no longer paying people less than the federal minimum wage. Also probably illegal, but hey, this is an old data set, and forgive me, I didn't update it. I'm just using this to be a little bit farcical at this point. Now let's make some other changes. First, we want to reward people for staying longer. And by doing this, we're going to go and increase the pay each year for their service. So in this case, I've increased the pay by whatever. And every year you can see people are employed, they're getting more and more value, which is creating a stepladder effect in our data. We also might want to incentivize people to stay longer. So let's change it so that they don't start getting this ladder until the first few years of employment. Perfect. Maybe I also want to take a look at the company's overall output. And since we do have some budget space, we can work with this. So let's start by changing the amount of work hours in the day to 10 hours. Might also be illegal, but again, I'm just using this for modeling purposes. Now you can see the budget's changed and the productivity has gone up as well. Now overall, this is a really neat concept, and you can create some true forecasting models based on decisions. I absolutely love this concept because of it. Now in terms of building something like this for yourself, it's really just a matter of formulas, placeholders, and more formulas. So let's start by creating a new dashboard. Now a fun example might be to use a chart to allow the user to plot their own line. Now, how much do you remember from grade school? You still remember the formula for a line? Shame on you. Y equals mx plus b. Now, for our x values, I'm just going to take an index from one of our other tables. Doesn't matter which, but this will give me values from 0 to, honestly, I don't care how many. Now next, let's add a formula to our y value. We just need to add the right side of the equation here, which is the mx plus b part. And now everything we want the user to adjust, we would simply wrap in dollar signs. So the index that we've got, that's going to be our x-axis. And then we simply add our b, which will make user adjustable. Also, since the index is being treated as a hierarchy, we do need to cast it as a number, so this doesn't try to treat it as text. So that's it. Once we execute our formula, the placeholders by default will become 0, which is why the chart might look a little bit weird. Now you can see, as we slide these on, the user placeholders are being fed from the sliders right into our formula, and that's adjusting the line that we're seeing. Pretty cool. You can also change the values of the slider itself, like the minimum, maximum, and even the step, so you can have these be appropriate based on what you expect as an input to these formulas. So that's it. I absolutely love this style of dashboard, and as I mentioned before, I hope you can start implementing these for yourself. Now, if you do want to learn a little bit more about it, I'd recommend getting into formulas and what we call Dundas script. 2 videos exist for these already, so you can immediately start taking a look at these. The videos are called An Introduction to Formulas in Dundas BI and Extend Your Data with Dundas script. That's all for now. Thanks for watching, and I hope this was helpful.